Have you ever had that feeling, the one where you're the go-to person for everything, you're always available, but somehow you feel less and less respected? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea called strategic scarcity. We're going to figure out why that happens and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Just think about that for a second. When something is always there, always on tap, our brains just naturally start to take it for granted. It's not personal, it's not malicious, it's just how we're wired. And it means that being constantly available, even when you have the best intentions, can accidentally make your presence and your help seem, well, less valuable.
I bet this hits home for a lot of us, right? You're the one who always steps up, always says yes, but over time, that thank you starts to fade. You might even feel like people just expect it now. That feeling, it is not just in your head. It's a real thing, and we're about to get into the why behind it.
Right. So this leads us directly into what we can call the availability trap. It's this weird paradox where the more helpful and accessible you are, the less valuable your help can actually seem to others. I know, it sounds totally backward, but understanding this trap is the absolute first step to getting out of it. And let's be super clear here. This is not about telling you to stop being a generous person. The problem isn't your kindness. It's about what being available 24/7 signals to other people. It basically broadcasts that your time, your energy, your focus, they don't have clear limits. And hey, if you don't value your own boundaries, why should anyone else? So let's get into the psychology of it all. Why do our brains even work this way? Well, it often comes down to a couple of key behaviors that, honestly, most of us fall into without even thinking about it. First up, the big one, people-pleasing. We tend to think of this as just being nice, but it's way more complicated than that. See, when you constantly put what others need ahead of your own stuff, you're sending this quiet, subconscious message. It says, hey, my priorities can wait. Whatever you need is more important than what I'm doing. And that makes your boundaries look totally negotiable. So what's the engine driving all that people-pleasing? A lot of the time, it's this, social validation dependency. It's that deep human need to be liked, to get that nod of approval, to feel like you belong. And that need can be so powerful that the fear of letting someone down makes saying a simple word like no feel, well, almost impossible. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, right? And we've peeked behind the curtain at the psychology. Now let's talk about the solution. And it's not about being cold or distant or unavailable. It's about being strategic. This is what strategic scarcity is all about. It's you taking the driver's seat. It's a conscious, intentional choice about when you're available and how you're available. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's a real strategy for building healthy boundaries. The goal here is simple: to make your interactions count for more and to make sure the work you do is actually seen and appreciated. And you can see the difference is, well, it's night and day. On one hand, you have constant accessibility, which is kind of the default mode for a lot of us, and that ends up signaling low value and fuzzy negotiable boundaries. But on the other hand, the strategic approach flips that completely. It's about thoughtful accessibility. That signals high value and that your boundaries are crystal clear. This is the big shift, you guys, from being reactive to everyone else to being intentional with your own precious energy. All right, so how do you actually do this? How do you put it into practice? Well, the single most powerful tool you have in your toolbox is a tiny 2-letter word that a lot of us are kind of terrified to use. We have got to totally reframe how we think about the word no. Saying no doesn't mean I don't like you or I think your idea is bad. It simply means, right now, I have to protect my own priorities, my own energy, my own focus. Think of it as an act of self-preservation, not an act of rejection. So how do you say no without all the anxiety? Okay, 3 simple steps. First, just pause. You do not have to give an answer on the spot. A simple, hey, let me check my schedule and get back to you, works like a charm. Second, when you do respond, communicate your boundary clearly, but you can still be polite. No need for a 5-page essay of excuses. And third, this is the most important part. Actually protect your focus. Go back to what you were doing. This reinforces that boundary, not just for them, but for you too. And when you start to actually do this, when you start putting this into practice, something really amazing starts to happen. It's not just about managing your calendar better, it's a huge shift in how you see yourself and how others start to see you. I absolutely love this quote because it just gets right to the heart of it. That little bit of space you create by not being instantly available, It isn't about pushing people away. It's about creating the quiet you need to actually value yourself, your time, and your work. It gives you room to breathe.
And look, this is really the ultimate point of all this. It all boils down to valuing yourself from the inside out, instead of waiting for other people to do it for you. When you set a boundary, when you say no to protect your focus, you are actively telling yourself that you matter. And that self-respect, it's magnetic. You'll find that other people start to reflect it right back at you. So let's make this real. Let's take it from theory to practice. It doesn't have to be some huge, dramatic no. It can be something really small. Maybe you turn down one extra task at work, or you skip a meeting that you don't really need to be in. Just think about it for a second. What is one small thing you can say no to this week to start reclaiming your time and your value?